All right, let's dive in. Today, we're going to demystify a topic that's been making a lot of noise: cryptocurrency. Our whole goal here is to cut through the hype and the confusion and just break down what it is, how it actually works, and why you might even care. Let's get right into it.
But before we get into the nuts and bolts, I want to start with a really big question. Just think about this for a second. What if money wasn't controlled by banks or governments? What if you could send value directly to another person anywhere on Earth with no middleman? That one single idea, that's the spark that lit the fire for this entire world of crypto.
So here's our game plan for today. We're going to start by looking back at the history of money, just to see where crypto fits into the big picture. Then we'll nail down what it actually is. After that, we'll get into the engine behind it all, the blockchain. Talk about how you can actually use it with a digital wallet, and finally, we'll zoom out and look at some of the major players in the crypto space.
First up, to really get this new kind of money, it actually helps to look back at the old kinds. So let's take a quick walk through the history of how we've exchanged value over the years.
You know, from the very beginning, the way we pay for things has always been evolving to get more efficient. We started off trading actual things like livestock. I mean, can you imagine trying to buy your morning coffee with a chicken? It was a pain. So we moved to things that were easier to carry, like shells and beads, then to standardized paper money. Then, of course, now we just swipe our credit cards. Every single step made things faster and easier. So when you look at it this way, cryptocurrency isn't some weird, random invention. It's just the next logical step in that evolution.
Okay, so if it's the next step, then what exactly is it? This brings us right to the heart of it all.
At its core is pretty much what it sounds like. It's currency, but in a totally digital form. The key difference, though, is how it's managed. It's all done online, and it uses incredibly complex code to lock down and secure every single transaction. It's a whole new way to move value from one person to another. And you know, the name itself gives us a massive clue. Crypto actually comes from the Greek word for hidden. It's pointing to the cryptography. That's the secure coding that protects everything. And currency, well, that's just what we've always known it to be, a way to exchange value. So put them together, and cryptocurrency literally just means secure, hidden money.
So why was this even invented? Well, it was created to solve a couple of big problems we have with digital money today. First, it completely cuts out the middleman, like a bank. That means fewer fees, and you have more direct control. And second, it solves something called the double spending problem. It makes sure that one digital dollar can't be copied and spent in two different places at the same time. Basically, it creates trust without needing a big company to oversee everything.
Now you're probably wondering, how in the world is any of this possible? Well, that brings us to the engine that makes almost all of crypto run, the blockchain.
Okay, this is the really revolutionary part. Think about your bank. It has one single private ledger that it controls. It keeps track of all your money, and you just have to trust that the bank is keeping it safe and accurate. A blockchain, on the other hand, is a decentralized ledger. So instead of one copy, there are thousands of identical copies of this ledger, all spread out across a huge network of computers. No single person or company owns it. Trust isn't placed in an institution, it's literally built into the network's code.
So what does that look like in practice? Well, when you want to make a transaction, your request gets blasted out to the entire network. All these computers on the network then race to verify that your transaction is legit. Once it's verified, your transaction gets bundled up with a bunch of others into a new block. Then, that block gets digitally chained to the one before it, creating a blockchain. And this is why it's so secure. To change just one transaction, you'd have to change every single block that came after it on thousands of computers all at the same time. It's basically impossible.
So what's the big payoff for having this kind of setup? Well, for one, it's incredibly tough to attack or tamper with. It's also super transparent, since anyone can view the public ledger. And because it's all automated, the network just runs 24/7, which helps cut down on the costs and the delays you get with traditional banks.
Okay, we've covered the what and the how. Now for the really practical stuff. How do you actually use and, maybe more importantly, how do you keep your cryptocurrency secure?
It all comes down to two things, a public key and a private key. And the analogy here is just perfect. Think of your public key like your bank account number. It's totally fine to share it with people so they can send you funds. But your private key, oh man, that is your password and your PIN all rolled into one. It gives total access to your funds. You have to protect it. Never, ever, ever share it with anyone.
And speaking of that, in the world of crypto, security is 100% your responsibility. That means using strong, unique passwords and turning on two-factor authentication. If you're dealing with larger amounts, you'll definitely want to look into a hardware wallet, which keeps your keys totally offline. And all the basic digital safety stuff applies. Don't do transactions on public Wi-Fi. Watch out for scams. And I'll say it one more time just so it sinks in. Never share your private key or your recovery phrase.
All right, let's zoom out now and look at the bigger picture. We've been saying cryptocurrency like it's just one thing, but in reality, there are literally thousands of different kinds.
Let's just quickly touch on 3 of the biggest players. Of course, you've got Bitcoin, the original gangster, which a lot of people see as a store of value, kind of like digital gold. Then you have Ethereum, which is more like a world computer. It introduced something called smart contracts, which are basically programs that run on the blockchain and automatically handle agreements. And then you have projects like Ripple, which is really focused on making it faster and cheaper to send money internationally. See, they're each trying to solve a different problem. And just to give you a sense of the sheer scale we're talking about, some analysts are projecting that the total value of all cryptocurrencies could hit $5 trillion by 2028. Yeah, that's trillion with a T. This isn't just some niche hobby anymore. It's a major, emerging financial market.
Which, of course, leaves us with the big question. Is this the dawn of a more open, efficient, and fair financial future? Or is it just a volatile, unregulated digital Wild West? You know, the truth is probably somewhere in the middle. But understanding the basics we've covered today, well, that's your first step to navigating this wild and fascinating new world.